Good morning, everyone. So today we are going to understand the what, why, and how of simultaneous elections or the one nation, one election idea. Simultaneous elections or one nation, one election. What, why, and how. Okay, so here we'll be talking about what is the meaning of simultaneous elections. Okay, some brief historical perspective, like whether there were simultaneous elections happening ever in the country or not. Some relevant constitutional and statutory measures or the provisions. Then we'll talk about why simultaneous elections. What are the factors or reasons that demand the simultaneous elections? Then what could be the issues, challenges, or likely criticism of the idea of simultaneous elections? Okay. And then finally, how to implement. So how to implement? Here we'll talk about the report of the high level committee, or you can say the Ramnath Kovind panel. Okay, right. And also we'll talk about the 129th Amendment Bill. Okay, so this is the complete lecture plan that we are going to follow. Fine. Now, starting with the idea of simultaneous elections. Okay. Understand that if we talk about India, just a brief, India has a federal structure, first thing, in terms of its political structure. Okay. Plus, this federal structure is not just limited to two tier, that is the center and the state. Rather, it's a three-tier polity. Okay, three-tier polity. What are on the top? We have union government. Then we have state governments, and then we have the local bodies. Union government, the elections happened for the parliament, right? And in particular, Lok Sabha, where the general elections are happening. State governments, the legislative assemblies are there. And for local bodies, we have PRIs, the Panchayati Raj institutions. And the urban local bodies, the municipalities and all. Okay. So these are the three-tier systems, and elections keep on happening every now and then for any of these in a particular part of the country. So you can say that if I talk about the simultaneous elections, so at the broader way or at the broader perspective, the idea of simultaneous elections spreads across all the three tiers, right? That I am getting the election to local bodies, to state assemblies, and to the parliament, that is the Lok Sabha, simultaneously, right? However, however, uh, the local bodies, they have kind of their own, the uh, specificities, plus the elections for local bodies are governed in different way. How? Elections to Lok Sabha and state assemblies are conducted by the Election Commission of India. Okay, ECI. However, the elections to local bodies are conducted by the state election commissions. I mean, every state has their own election commission. State election commissions, SECs. Okay, fine. Okay. So if I talk about conducting the elections, ideally it should have been like all the three tiers are having the elections simultaneously. But since the structure and the mechanism and the administration of Panchayati Raj institutions are different from those happening for the Lok Sabha and state assembly elections. So, for the purpose of simultaneous elections, whatever discussions are going on, they are just including the elections to Lok Sabha and the state assemblies. Okay, right? Okay. So, since the PRIs and ULBs, that is the urban local bodies, are primarily a state subject. These are primarily a state subject as per the constitution. Okay. Just a moment. Further, these elections 30 elections are conducted and controlled by state election commission. Okay. State election commissions. And also their numbers are huge. Okay. Just imagine there are lakhs of panchayats, right? And then hundreds to thousands of urban local bodies. So in such a scenario, it would become impractical, right? Therefore, it would be impracticable and nearly impossible, okay, to synchronize and align election schedules and align the election schedules to the third tier with that of Lok Sabha and state assembly elections. Okay. So a question can be asked while talking about the one nation, one election or simultaneous elections, why the Panchayati Raj institutions are not considered to be the part of the same. Okay. So this is the reason. Okay. So this means this means the term simultaneous elections okay can be defined as structuring the election cycle structuring the election cycle in a manner so that elections to Lok Sabha and state assemblies are synchronized together. In other words, I can say that in simple terms, simultaneous elections means the election to Lok Sabha and state assemblies are happening together, right? Means on a single day, a voter casts their vote to both Lok Sabha and state assembly. I as a voter will go to cast my vote and I am casting it for both Lok Sabha and state assembly simultaneously together. Okay. Of course, not on the single EVM. There will be a separate EVM for state and there will be a separate EVM for Lok Sabha. Okay, fine. Okay. Just one more thing to clarify here. When I say the voter is having their elections simultaneously for Lok Sabha and state assembly, That does not mean the entire country need to have it on a single day. Okay. The elections can happen in a phase-wise manner as they are happening right now. Okay. Like in 5 phases, 6 phases, 4 phases, whatever be the feasibility, that can happen. However, it need not to be on a single day throughout the country. Okay. So we have defined the scope of what actually the meaning of simultaneous elections are in context of India. Okay. So it does not include the third tier. Now, talking about the historical perspective, so basically this idea is not something new to us. Okay. This idea is not something new to us. Rather, in the beginning, when India started its democratic journey after the enactment of the constitution, we were having the simultaneous elections, right? So, for instance, 1951 to 1967, India had simultaneous elections. Okay. Whenever I'll be using the term simultaneous election, take it the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies. Okay. So, first general elections conducted in 1951-52. So, it was conducted for both Lok Sabha and state assemblies. Okay, so all across the country, it continued till it continued through 1957, 1962, and 1967 elections also. Okay. Now, this cycle was going out of sync and got disrupted in 68 and 69. Okay, because some of the legislative assemblies, they got disrupted for the first time. Okay, they got disrupted for the first time in after 67, and then Lok Sabha also got disrupted. Understand, the simultaneous elections were happening in 52, 57, 62, and 67 only because the assemblies and Lok Sabha were completing their 5-year term, right? Fine. So this shows that Lok Sabha and state assemblies, Lok Sabha and state assemblies finished their 5-year term in 1952, 1957, and 1962. Okay. However, this simultaneous elections cycle got disrupted as in 1968 and 1969 some state assemblies they were prematurely dissolved. Were dissolved prematurely. Okay, fine. Moreover, the fourth Lok Sabha also fourth Lok Sabha. Which one? The one got elected in 67. Okay. Okay. So fourth Lok Sabha was also dissolved prematurely. Okay. In 1970. Okay. So this is how the fresh elections were held in 1971. Okay. Similarly, came the 1975, and the term got extended for the fifth Lok Sabha, right? During the emergency period, remain active till 1977 for an extended period of 1 year, okay, due to emergency. Okay. Right. So the election that should have been happening in 1976 were now deferred till 1977. Okay. and then and then they and since then most of the Lok Sabhas terms could not be reached to 5 years, right? Many of them they dissolved even before they completed their 5 year. Okay. For instance, for instance, the 8th, 10th, 14th, 15th, they have only lasted for full 5 year. Okay. while the others, 6th, 7th, 9th, 11th, 12th, and 13th Lok Sabha, they were dissolved early. So premature dissolution. Okay. So what will happen? As and when the dissolution is happening, the elections has to be conducted, right? Because the constitution mandates that within 6 years, so within 6 months, the elections must happen as the election as the term is getting over. Okay, clear? And the same happened for many of the the state assemblies also. Fine. So I'm not getting into the detail of all the states. Now, what are the relevant, the constitutional statutory provisions that relate with the election timings? Okay. So first is, and basically here we'll talk about all those provisions that pertain to the elections of the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies. Okay. So Article 83, it provides for tenure of the House. Okay. So basically, this is for central government, so House of Parliament. So this include both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, LS and RS. Okay. So obviously, this provides for 5 years term for Lok Sabha. Okay. Okay. And similar provisions are there for state government under Article 172 for state assemblies. Five-year term. Okay. Fine. Okay. They are also providing for extension of period during the emergency. These articles also provide for extension of tenure during emergency. Okay. Fine. So up to a year, we can do that. Right. Okay. Then there are Article 85 and Article 174. These relate with the premature dissolution of Lok Sabha or State Assembly. Okay. Premature Article 85, President can dissolve the Lok Sabha, and similar powers are given to governor for the dissolution. Okay, fine. In case of Article 174, the Article 356 will also come into picture. The President rule, that is popularly called as. Okay, fine. Then Article 324, Election Commission of India mandated to conduct the election. I'm calling it general elections. General elections means elections to Lok Sabha and state assemblies. Okay. So Article 324 is also equally important. Okay. So these are some of the constitutional provisions. Then, if I talk about the statutory provision, the Representation of People Act (1951). Okay. So this provides for variety of the features that must be taken into account so that the elections can be held in a proper way. Okay, so I'll just write a brief line for the same. It covers various modalities of elections. Okay. To be conducted. Right. So lot of things are there. You can also say it provides the statutory basis for ECI, Election Commission of India, to conduct the elections. Okay. It provides the statutory basis for people cast their votes also to conduct the election by ECI also. So lot many, I mean basically all modalities, they are being done and managed by the Representation of People Act, RPA, as it is known in short. Okay. Now, the next thing, I mean, having understood the various historical context, the understanding the meaning of simultaneous elections and the relevant provisions, let us also understand why simultaneous elections. Why do we need to have simultaneous elections? So simultaneous elections are important. I mean, if you talk about the rationale for simultaneous elections, rationale for simultaneous elections mostly arise from the fact that regular elections have adverse impacts rather let me write it in two pointers that one or the other part of country is experiencing elections every year. Okay, so on an average some 5 to 7 state assemblies, they are witnessing the elections every year. Okay, 5 to 7 state assemblies witness elections every year. Okay, now if the regular elections are happening, okay, this will have a general adverse impact. This has adverse impacts. Okay, fine. Let us see. These adverse impacts could be broadly categorized as follow. Number one is the impact on developmental program. And governance due to model code of conduct MCC. Okay, and who imposes this? Election Commission. By Election Commission, let me write it ECI. Okay, then massive expenditure on elections by the government, right? And other stakeholders like political parties. Okay, so massive expenditure. Then engagement of security forces for a significant prolonged periods. Fine. Now see, these are the three broader themes that are taken into account when we talk about the rationale or requirement or need for the simultaneous elections. Okay. So, for instance, MCC is a model code of conduct. When the moment applied, all the developmental activities they come to a halt. Okay, right? Because it disrupts the apart from the routine administrative expenditures, you cannot announce any new scheme, you cannot release any new fund. So the developmental activities they come to a halt. And if any or the other part, on an average, 2 to 4 months, some part of India is always under MCC. That means that part will have an effective deficit of development and governance, right? So almost 1/3 of the year, I'm not able to utilize the the developmental and governance aspect of the government. So what is the benefit? I'm losing time and money both. Similarly, the expenditures are huge, right? Many sources they put these values differently, but if you talk about the money that is involved in these kind of elections, so they run in thousands of crores. Okay, for instance, expenditure in 2019 Lok Sabha election. Okay, it was reported to be near about 2378 crore by 7 political parties. So just political parties have given this much expenditure. Okay. Similarly, the standing committee on law and justice in 2015 report noted that the average average expenditure on conduct of elections to Lok Sabha and state assemblies Lok Sabha and state assemblies was around 4,500 crore, right? 4,500 crore. And as per other estimates by ECI, ECI estimate the Lok Sabha expenditure ranged between 0.2% to 0.05% of GDP. That's huge amount. between 1957 to 2014. Okay, so in this period, we have incurred huge cost in conducting the election, and many unofficial studies. If you talk about in 2024, many unofficial studies put the cost, or rather expenditure would be the right word, put the expenditure during 2024 Lok Sabha elections at, just imagine the numbers, 1.24 lakh crore, because everybody knows use of money power is the open secret in elections. So 1.24 lakh crore of money is being spent in the Lok Sabha. Okay, my bad. It's 1.35 even, not just 1.24. I just checked now. It's 1.35 crore. 1.35 lakh crore. So just imagine how huge money is being incurred. Okay. So if I talk about multiple rationales, having discussed these important pointers, so just summarizing them, multiple rationale for simultaneous elections. Number one is it promotes consistency in governance. Okay. Because during the elections, people are always engaged here and there. So they are not able to focus more on the developmental activities. Okay. Then it will prevent policy paralysis. Okay. By reducing the time of MCC. Then it will mitigate resource diversion, because huge amount of money is going for elections. That can be put under some productive activities. Then it also preserves, very important, the relevance of regional parties. Preserve the relevance of regional parties, because it will encourage a more localized focus during elections, right? And if the focus is localized, so regional parties can highlight their unique concerns and aspirations, right? Then these kind of elections can enhance political opportunities. Okay. they can enhance political opportunities because certain parties only as of now dominate the political landscape, the election landscape, right? So at every level, these bigger parties are there. If simultaneous elections will happen, so other parties might also get a chance, because then in that case, not all the parties would be able to fight elections everywhere. Okay, so that can help to bring the regional parties and the more of the political opportunities. This will lead to focus on governance also. Okay, and it will reduce the financial burden. एक ही खर्चे में दो काम हो जाएंगे. Simultaneously, I can have both the elections with the same amount of manpower, same amount of equipment, same amount of security. Right? Okay. So these are the rationale for simultaneous elections. Now, talking about the moving forward with simultaneous elections. Okay. So there has been regular recommendations regarding the simultaneous elections. Okay. So basically, government has formed a high level committee. Okay. In 2023. A high level committee headed by Ramnath Kovind was formed in 2023. Okay. They have already given their recommendations. Holding of simultaneous elections. However, this committee is not the first one. This committee is not the first one to talk about this. There have been other institutions also. So before this, other institutions have also suggested their own recommendations. Okay. So for instance, the Election Commission of India, okay, in their first annual report, in 1983, okay, they have recommended simultaneous elections. Okay. Then Law Commission in its 170th report in 1999, okay, it also said that simultaneous elections should be happening. Okay, recommended simultaneous elections. Okay, and they have given some other suggestions also, but we need not to get into too much detail of the same. Okay, then there has been another from the Parliament Standing Committee. Parliamentary Standing Committee on Personnel, Public Grievance, and Law and Justice. And Law and Justice. Okay. They have talked about it in their 79th report. Okay. So they have suggested two-phase synchronized elections. Okay. So basically, like one at the start, another at the end or the midterm, right? So in two phases, we can have it. I mean, every 2.5 years, we are having elections, not like every 5 years. Okay, this is how they have suggested. So half country is undergoing elections every 2.5 years. Okay. Then NITI Aayog also published a discussion paper. Okay. In 2017, they have also talked about phase-wise synchronization. Of elections to Lok Sabha and state assemblies. Okay. And then Law Commission also, again, in its draft report 2018, have talked about the same. So this much is enough. I mean, for your answers, just one or two reports that you can talk about will help you to have a good answer. Okay. So far, we have seen what is the meaning of simultaneous elections, what are the historical perspectives, the relevant provisions, then why the need for elections are there. Okay. I mean, the simultaneous elections are there. And then what are the ways that we can move forward in to implement this particular idea. Okay. Fine. Now, now the last two pointers that we are going to talk about now, based on the recommendation of, based on the recommendations of the Covind panel report, okay, Government has brought the 129th Constitutional Amendment Bill. Okay. 129th Constitutional Amendment Bill. The bill amends the Constitution to conduct simultaneous elections. Conduct elections for Lok Sabha and state assemblies together. Okay. So this is the basic provision of the bill. Okay. Now the bill says that to implement simultaneous elections, president have to notify, right? The president will notify okay on the date of first sitting of Lok Sabha. After a general election. Okay, to implement simultaneous elections, the president will issue a notification on the date of first sitting of Lok Sabha after a general election. Means, let's say in 29 the Lok Sabha happens. So on the first day of 2029 Lok Sabha, president will issue a notification that when the term of this Lok Sabha will end, that is in 2034. So from 2034, every state assembly and Lok Sabha will have the simultaneous election. Okay. So president will be notifying this. So what does this mean? All the state assemblies who are constituted, let's say after 2029. Okay. So irrespective of when their terms are ending, they all will go for election in 2034. Okay. So this means the terms of all state assemblies constituted after this date, means after the date of first sitting, or you can say the date of presidential notification for simultaneous election will expire with the end of the Lok Sabha's 5-year term. That Lok Sabha's 5-year term. Okay. Fine. And then sometimes it may also happen, sometimes the Lok Sabha or the state assemblies may dissolve prematurely. So another provision is there, if Lok Sabha or assemblies dissolve earlier, then what will happen? Okay, earlier than 5 years. Okay, the election for it will be held for a term held for remainder term only. What does this mean? What does this mean? I mean, take for example, if dissolves in 3 years, the election will be done only for 2 years. So that 3 plus 2, 5-year tenure is completed. Okay. Fine. And this will make sure that the election cycle is not thrown out of sync. Okay. So this will synchronize the next election. With simultaneous election cycle. Okay. And then one more provision is there. If for any particular state assembly, if ECI is of opinion that the election to a state assembly can't be held as part of simultaneous election. Okay. Then ECI may make a recommendation, President, the same opinion. Okay. And then President may issue the order to conduct the election at later date. President may order for elections at later date. So these are some of the provisions of this particular bill. Okay. And not just state, bill also includes union territories. So those union territories that are having the legislative assembly, they Jammu Kashmir, they UT of Delhi, UT of Puducherry, etc. These are having the legislative assemblies. So bill also includes union territories with UTs with assembly under simultaneous election. So all the provisions that are applying to state, they go for UTs also. Okay. So this is the complete information of One Nation, One Election bill. Now, what are the issues involved? If I talk about the challenges or the issues involved in the process, issues or likely criticisms. Okay. So number one is, the concerns regarding federalism. Okay. For instance, Article 172 can be amended, okay, without the state's concurrence. Okay. So, and this Article 172 provides for the term of assemblies, right? Yeah, we have already seen that. So, this reduces the, or this overlooks the opinion of states on this. Okay. So, federal structure may get affected. Then, legal and constitutional requirements. Like as we have seen, multiple provisions are there. So, amendment to multiple constitutional and statutory provisions, which is not that easy. Okay. For example, constitutional, like we have seen Article 83, 172, etc. Right. Similarly, statutory provision, Representation of People Act 1951. Okay. Then, obviously, the constitutional challenges like when the ECI says that in this particular state, the election cannot be held. So the elections can be deferred as per the presidential order. Okay. So this gives us the idea that president's rule can be misused. president's rule can be misused to bring simultaneous elections. Right? So this can also be there. Then logistical challenges, holding the elections for more than 500 plus seats in Lok Sabha and more than 4,000 plus seats in state assemblies. Not going to be easy, and having nearly 1 billion voters, right? And then we need simultaneous EVM machines also, for one for state assembly, another for the Lok Sabha. Not an easy task, right? More than 1 million polling booths, right? So not that easy to manage it. Trained administrative machinery, right? And then it might also have an impact on voter behavior, because local issues are different and national issues are different. Okay. And this might lead to nationalization of local issues. Okay. Right. Voters might prioritize national parties over local or regional parties. Okay. So this can also bring a challenge. Okay. And then political accountability. Because this might get hampered. Okay. Why? Because regular or frequent elections hold lawmakers accountable. Now it's something like, I've given you 5-year term fix. So in any way, I'm not going to lose my seat before 5 years, right? So this might provide unwarranted stability. Okay. So on all these accounts, we can say that, we can conclude with the point that the simultaneous elections have both benefits as well as challenges. right? So benefits can be like political stability, okay, more administrative efficiency, better governance, developmental activities, etc. While challenges, just a summarized version, logistical, okay, political manipulations, okay, and impacts on regional or local politics, right? So, therefore, a careful planning, and a robust democratic framework. Okay, are crucial for its implementation. Of simultaneous elections or one nation, one election. Okay, so with this, we conclude this session. I'll just give you some questions. So here in the 2024 examination, there was a question asked. Question number 1 goes with that. You all can attempt this. Every point is discussed well. Examine the need for electoral reforms as suggested by various committees with particular reference to one nation, one election principle. Okay. Fine then. Have a good time. Take care. Bye bye.